Do that one more time, and shake this. Yeah. Then go back 3 steps, and I'll go back to your.
I've been challenged.
So you place. Right hands, then with your left hand. Spin around once. And then pass one chance.
The second time you go around is just holding
And why don't we all clap just so they won't lose their time? They're going to lose everything else. They won't lose their time.
One day, after Magnus Barelegs broke into St. Olaf's shrine and poked at him to see if his body was decomposing, St. Olaf came to him in a dream and said, "Leave Norway." So Magnus did. And he went through the Orkneys and the Scottish Isles, and he came down to Man. And he looked over the Isle of Man and he says, "This looks pretty nice." He climbed to the top of Staple, the highest mountain on Man. And he said, "You can see 6 kingdoms." And he forgot to name the 6 kingdoms. From the top of Snaefell, if you look, you can see the Kingdom of Scotland, the Kingdom of England, the Kingdom of Wales, the Kingdom of Ireland, the Kingdom of Man, which Magnus Barelegs immediately made himself king of, and the Kingdom of Heaven. So, great place to be. Middle of the Irish Sea, you can get a lot done there. Looking around, he saw all these islands that the Scots had. And he decided, well, first I'll pick on the Irish for a while, and then I'll pick on the Scots. And after he finished picking on the Irish, the Scottish king came to him and said, "Never mind. I'll give you all the islands that you can sail your ship around." So Magnus took his ship and he sailed them around the island. Hold it. Wrong side of the broomstick. Got to get the right island. Okay. Sailed them all around the islands, and he came to the peninsula of Cantyre. I had to look it up. I can't remember those silly Scottish names. Gotta watch that thing. And he came to this peninsula, and there was just a little narrow neck on the peninsula. So he had his men take his ship, drag it up on the land, drag it over the narrow neck, and to the other side. And the King of Scotland said, "All right, that's yours too." So Magnus was one of the great kings. And when he broke into his ancestor Olaf's shrine, he had this wonderful a carved crystal cup. And he brought that to the Isle of Man. It's still there somewhere, bringing good luck, and protected by its very own fairy. Trust me, the fairies on the Isle of Man are good for protection, but you have to watch them, because they're also very tricky sometimes. But the fairies that take you over to the Isle of Man, they'll trick you every time. We have another one. Sometimes I wonder too. Oh, the Bogan of St. Trinian's.
A what?
Bougain. Bougain. You've heard of the boogeyman? Nothing next to the Bougain. Okay? The Bougain is big, and he's nasty, and he's ugly, and he's very scary. There's several of them on Man. Very few have ever served in the House of Keys. Up on Grieve Mount, a bunch of monks decided to build a church. Bougains don't like churches. I mean, if a Bougain is chasing you, you can run down to the churchyard, hop over the wall, and you're safe. So they don't think much of churches. But this church hadn't been finished yet, hadn't been consecrated. And they just finished the walls, and they put up the roof, and they came the next day to work on it. The roof was gone. Everybody said, must have been the Bougain. So they built another roof. Next morning, roof's gone, pieces all over the place. Sure sounds like the Bougain to me. Well, they went to build another church. Put the roof on the church, rather. And the tailor of the town, named Tom the Tailor, he decided, well, I'm a curious man, and I'm a man who likes to take chances. I'll bet you I'll go up there tonight, and I'll stay there till I finish sewing a pair of trousers. And if I sew this pair of trousers, I'll win the bet, you give me some gold. And if I don't finish sewing the pair of trousers, either I'm not as brave as I think I am, or I'm gaining. So he goes up there to the church, new roof, everybody's ready. And the sun starts to go down, he lights the candles in the church, and he sits down, and he pulls out his cloth, and he pulls out his needle, and he starts stitching away. And stitches and stitches and stitches. Everything's going well. He's looking around, hours gone by, he's halfway down one leg. And when he looks around, all's quiet, all's peaceful, and then he says, well, I guess it must have been the wind that blew down the roof anyways. All of a sudden, out of the floor, he hears this rumbling sound, and the floor starts to crack. He stops sewing a moment, he looks, and the floor starts to open up. The Bougaine's head, a couple of horns, 3 or 4, starts poking through. Tom starts stitching a little faster. Finally, the Bougaine's eyes peer above the broken floor of the church, and he starts rotating his head. Pieces of dirt and dust and rocks start falling down around his ears. He says, "You're not afraid of me?" "I'm not afraid of you." He starts stitching a little faster. Bougain pulls up through the roof. Excuse me, floor. Wrong level. Starts looking around. He shoves up his shoulder. "You not afraid of me?" "Not afraid of you." Bougain pulls up his other shoulder, a little higher. "Well, what do you think now?" "Well, I'm busy sewing, don't want to think." Bougain pulls up, getting his elbows free. "Are you afraid of me yet?" "No." Stitches are starting to get a little longer. Bougain pulls his waist up, looks around. He says, "The roof's here again." Tom says, "Yep." So, Bougain rises up, pulls up one foot, puts it up on the floor. Pulls loose the other foot, puts it up on the floor. Tom has a few more stitches to go. Pulls them a little tighter, a little longer. Bougain says, "Well, are you afraid of me now?" Tom picks up the trousers and he says, "No, but the trousers are finished." Runs to the window, throws the trousers over his head, throws himself through the window out onto the lawn. He rolls down the grass on the side of the mountain. Pieces of church roof all over the place. Bougain hasn't been seen since. But they've never put a roof on that church. Oh, right. There we go. Takes a while. The fairies, which Manx fairies aren't these little flittery fairies. Manx fairies are close to your size. If you're not careful, they'll switch one with you, and your parents will be happier sometimes. Anyways, change it. Manx fairies, as I said, you have to watch out for, because they can be dangerous. On the other hand, they can be very nice to you. And there was a man who always would go to his door and he'd leave a little milk, a little something for the little people, the little fellows. You don't call them fairies, call them little fellows, or little men, or the young uns. Don't want to insult them. That's correct. One night, he had a dream. One of the little fellows said, "Take your shovel and go to London Bridge, and you'll find a great treasure." So the fellow woke up the next morning and he thought, well, that's pretty funny, but they say there's a great treasure there. I guess I'll better go to London. So he takes a shovel, he travels all the way down to London. He gets to London Bridge, here's all these carriages rolling back and forth, all these people walking back and forth, all these cobblestones, absolutely nowhere to dig. He's standing there at the bridge holding the shovel, wondering, where is he going to dig? This fellow walks up to him and he says, "Are you here to dig treasure?" And he says, "Why, yes, I am." He said, "I had a dream about you. One of the little fellows told me that I would meet a man on London Bridge with a shovel and tell him to go to this house in a glen with a black thorn tree growing right next to the corner and to dig there. I don't believe this nonsense and I'm not going, but you can go if you want." So, having come all the way to London, he went all the way back because he remembered right at the corner of his house was a black thorn tree. So he started digging down, and he got down further, and got down a little further, and hit an iron chest. And he pulled up this iron chest. It was full of gold coins. And here was a note in it, but he couldn't read the note. Like, you all can't read these notes. Odd thing about that. So, suddenly he was rich. But since he couldn't read the note, he took the note and he posted it by the corner of the blacksmith shop. And everybody who walked by, they'd take a look at the note. Finally, somebody walked by, a scholar, he says, "That's Latin." "Well, what does it say?" "It says, 'Dig again, there's more below.'" He went back and he dug some more, and sure enough, underneath the first chest had been a second chest. And he pulled that up, and it was full of gold coins, but no note. So he was a rich man for the rest of his life, and every night he'd leave a little something for the little fellows, and he'd say, "Thank you, little fellows, thank you." Not that one. Oh! Finally, a charm against fairies. Because sometimes they can be very good, but sometimes they can cause problems. Let's see. Peace of God and peace of man. Peace of God on Callum Killy. Am I pronouncing that right? Thank you. Killia. On each window and each door, on every hole,
In the roof that lets in the moonlight.
thank you. On the four corners of my house and the place of my rest, and peace of man on my, and peace of God on myself. Someday, I won't have to write it down. So watch out for the fairies, but if they tell you something, pay careful attention to it.
That was a real piece of work. Thank you, Bruce Flagstone.